Hello friends, today we will be discussing a very important topic for libraries, and the topic is document selection principles. You know, a library is known by the collection of books that it has. So, since the collection of books has to be standard, a library is well known by this collection. And you might be wondering that in the title we have used the word document and generally we call it books. What is the difference between a book and a document? So, we will be discussing that, and today in the discussion we will start with what is a document, and then we will talk about why this topic document selection principles. Then we will move on to the different types of document selection principles. So, we begin with what is the difference between a book and a document. You know, as you see here on this slide, a document is a record of work, means it is something which is recorded. I am talking here right now, if my talk is recorded, it becomes a document. Now, this recording could be on different media. One, it could be on paper. It could also be on other different types of materials. Yes, you might be wondering that these days we talk of e-documents and the recording is not on paper. You are very right, these are also documents. So, traditionally we have been used to paper based documents, but then there are other types of documents also, as the material on which they are recorded could be electronic, could be electromagnetic, and therefore we have different types of documents. Now, the criteria is, when you talk it is a document, as you see here on your slide, it is very important that this document that you have created should be easy to be handled physically. This is a criteria. Similarly, you should be able to carry this document across space and time. That means it should be available here and there and everywhere. And also you should be able to preserve it through time. Even if you document it, it should be very important that you are able to keep it for time immemorial, because libraries preserve knowledge and information for future generations also. Therefore, libraries always acquire documents. And as I told you that it is available in different formats, and these formats vary because the medium on which they are recorded are different. And also that these documents that are available, they are available in different forms. Basically, the difference between forms and formats is that forms are the inner forms of documents, whereas formats refer to the outer or external form of the documents. I will explain these in detail. Now, as I told you, formats, and I said that these are the external forms of the documents, and I told you that it could be, the recording could be on paper, and then these are very well known traditional forms of documents. And similarly, as you thought of that these could be audio, these could be audio visual, and these audio and audio visual are the most important today because we are used to the digital documents, we are used to the electronic documents. So, these refer to such types of documents only, and you all know that libraries make available for us these documents, and it could be any type of library. Irrespective of the kind of libraries, we have audio and audio visual documents. So, therefore, these are very popular formats of documents today. Similarly, we also have micro documents. You would have heard of microfiche and similarly such type of documents. The benefit with such type of documents is that they are able to store large volumes of information in very small documents, and that is why they are referred to as micro documents, and it is easy to preserve these documents. But then when you want to use such documents, you need readers for them. These are not visible to the naked eye. That is a little negative with these, but then the positive, which is more than enough, is that you are able to store large volumes of information in a very small space and you can easily carry them, but then you need a reader. So, you have different formats. Now, let us come to the forms of documents, and you see here on your screen the different forms. You may think of many other forms also. This is just an illustrative list for you, and I start with the most common form of document, that is book, and we are all familiar with it. Similarly, another form of document, periodical. Many of you would have heard it and also would have used it. You call it by the term journal also. You would have heard of magazines which you have been using, but then when you say journal or periodical, these are learned in nature. Similarly, maps, manuscripts, standards, patents, theses, and you can go on adding to this list. And you should remember that when you say form, we are referring to the internal form. We are referring to the inner form, and format means external form. And how do you say that this is inner or internal or external? See, when you open that document, then only you are able to say. Though book, by the outer form also you can say, but then the form is the same whether you say book or periodical or a monograph, but only when you open it, then you come to know, yes, this is not a book, this is a periodical, this is a monograph. Though map can be seen from outside also and said that this is a map. Similarly, manuscript and all these. So, I just wanted to impress upon you that in a library there are different types of documents, and acquiring this is in itself a highly specialized job, and we should prepare ourselves to acquire such different types of documents. I will go a little bit more into detail in these, and though not very directly connected, but when if you would like to understand why this topic has to be studied, you should know that this wide variety of documents really require that a librarian and anyone who joins this profession should be knowing these forms, should be knowing the nuances connected with these different forms. Therefore, one should really take into consideration all these while discussing this topic of document selection. And these are not unknown to you, as you see here: textbooks, general books. Textbooks are those which are recommended for a particular level in a particular subject. Similarly, those which are not particularly meant for a particular level, they are referred to as general books. Books which are to be referred to, they are not read from page to page, they are all called reference books, and I have given here some examples of these reference books: dictionary, encyclopedia, and similarly geographical sources, statistical sources, current sources. So, these are different types of books that you have to acquire in a library. So, I just wanted to tell you that a variety of documents are there. Now, periodical is also of different types: primary periodical and secondary periodical, and the researchers are concerned with primary periodicals. These are periodicals which report original research. They provide you the first hand information on any subject. Therefore, a research library generally concentrates on its collection in terms of primary periodicals. A research library is evaluated on the basis of what sort of primary periodicals it is subscribing to. Similarly, to reach to the primary periodicals, we have another category of periodicals called as secondary periodicals, and I provide here the different types of secondary periodicals: indexing periodicals, abstracting periodicals, reviewing periodicals. So, different types of periodicals are there which we need to acquire in a library. Now, documents have been classified in different ways, and we have talked about primary and secondary periodicals. Similarly, we also have secondary sources of documents, and this includes textbooks and others also. So, and similarly we have tertiary documents also, like directories and bibliographies or bibliographies. So, you have variety of documents. Another point that we should consider while we talk of document selection principles is that all these different types of documents are available through different channels, and one channel which is known to all of us is commercial trade channels, which are really serving libraries and information centers and publishers, printers, distributors. they all come under this category, and we can easily acquire different types of documents, whether they are published in our country or outside the country or published in different time periods. They are all made available to us by publishers and their channel that they have. But then there are some documents which are available through particular types of institutions only, like government or the agencies. So, they are not very easily available because they are not available through commercial trade channels. Similarly, there is another category of documents which are still difficult to acquire, and they are referred to as grey literature. So, now we have studied the different types of documents that are to be acquired in a library. We use the word acquired because they are not all purchased, they may be available in different ways, they may be exchanged, they may be available through gift or other different ways. Therefore, we use the word acquisition or acquiring, and that is why you see here the term used, availability. Now, why should we study document selection principles? Why is it that we need to know the principles for document selection? One may think that once the documents are available through different channels, whatever is required, we should go for it. No, it is not that easy. We need to apply principles. We need to think whether this is to be acquired or not. Not everything that is made available should be acquired. Therefore, we need to have principles for document selection. And there are different criteria that are there within it, like you see quality, that we should go for quality contents which are available. There may be available hundreds of documents in a particular subject, but we should go for those which are quality as far as contents are concerned, as well as form and format is concerned. Now, if we acquire anything which is below quality, it will affect, because the library is serving the institution. It is there responsible for satisfying the objectives of the institution. Therefore, it has the responsibility bestowed on it of passing the knowledge, culture, history not only to the society today, but also to the future generations. Therefore, we should take care of the quality. Now, as I told you that large numbers of books are in different media, different forms, different formats by different people are available. Therefore, we should see that we try to get the best possible for our institution, keeping in view the resources that we have available with us. And resources comprise the financial resources, the infrastructure, and also our staff time. Because we acquire it, we have to spend staff time also in processing such resources. Therefore, it is required that we should follow document selection principles while acquiring documents for our institutions. Now, there are different document selection principles that we should know, and you see here on your screen the names of people, of experts who have given document selection principles. On top of it, the most talked about, the most referred is Drury. Similarly, Melville Dewey has also given, and our father of library information science from our country, Dr. S.R. Ranganathan has also given, and McAlvin has also given book selection principles or document selection principles. And mind you that these have been given long back in the early third decade of the 20th century, but then they are still popular, they are still valid, and we should know all these principles, and therefore, while being practicing librarians, we should take into consideration these principles. We start with the principles of Drury. These were given in 1930, as I told you, and what do they say? The crux of his principles, which are 21 in nature, is he says that whatever you do while selecting documents for your library, you should keep in view that provide the right book to the right reader at the right time. So, his comment could be divided into three: right book, right reader, right time. Right book means that what your reader needs, you are providing that, and right reader means whoever needs it should be provided to him, and you will be able to provide it in the right time means when the reader really requires it. For that, you need to evolve a system for that. So, this is the crux of Drury's principle. We will study all these 21 principles in brief one by one. First is, he says that study open mindedly the community. Community means your users, means your readers, and therefore, he says that you analyze their desires, means what they want, what they really request from you, what they desire from you, you should know that and also analyze that. He goes further into it and he says diagnose the ailments of the society. Ailment means that what is lacking in your institution, in your users, how can that be improved, how can it be made better, you should do that. And also what they want, what they need. Want and need are different, you know, want is expressed, need may be unexpressed. So, want is always available, but need may also be known by the librarian. And also he cautions you not only for the actual users, but also the potential users. You know, there is a difference between an actual user and a potential user. Actual user comes to you, asks you, he comes very often and you know, but there are potential users also who are not coming, who should be coming, who also have their needs. You should know their needs, wants and desires also, and therefore you try to satisfy that. And he says not only general demands, but specific demands also. What is the difference between general and specific demands? You know, general demands can be known, can also be thought of before they are asking, like you come to know through the curriculum, you come to know through the reference list that has been provided, but specific demands come specifically from the users. So, try to satisfy that. He says not only when they ask you, you should do it, you should also do it in anticipation, as I was telling you, and also see that whatever you acquire is really of standard, is really of a particular standard, and you should learn as a librarian how to evaluate a book. And therefore, he says that everything that is asked for or is made available by the book trade should not be acquired. As a librarian, you should be able to evaluate the contents, you should be evaluate the format, you should be able to evaluate a particular publication, and that is very important from your side. And therefore, you should be able to serve, particularly for a public library, all your class of users and all their different types of needs. And he says that community leaders, if they ask for something, or specialized users, if they ask for something, you should try to acquire that, because what they say serves almost all the users. They are leaders, they are really trying to help the users see and get what they want. If we further go into Drury's principles, he says that select books aiming at human development, and this says material development, mental development and moral development. So, not only the criteria which you apply like in educational institutions, the references or the general criteria that you apply, it is very important that we aim at developing our users ethically. Their mental development is also very important. And it says that if you get multi-volume or multi-series of books, see that you should acquire only which really serves the purpose of the institution. And also, while listening to the needs of your users, those who are very demanding should be taken with caution, and those who do not demand should also be heard. Now, whatever you have, you may have large variety of material available, try to get the best one for your users, and for that you should be able to see that while serving to them with the best, it is not always going for the best, you may also be going for something which is less than the best also, because it may be of use for people. And similarly, classics and standards should always be acquired, because may not be required, may not be an expressed need, but it would certainly serve your users. Therefore, it is for you to take this decision, and for best books you may have in more than one quantity also. And you should always see that you are positive while selecting, you are not biased. you are not biased as per your thinking. You have to be objective when you develop the collection of a library. You for a particular library in a particular area, local history collection should also be developed, because you expect those libraries in the locality to have local history, because they may be serving users from outside that area also. Therefore, the prejudice in selection should be avoided. And he says you should also acquire fiction. At times people feel that they may not serve the needs, but then yes, that also is very important. And while seeing the contents, at times we do not bother about the format, that too is important as per the different types of users. Like the public library or children library, it's particularly very important that you think about the format. And otherwise library format, it's always available. And you should know your publishers, your authors, the cost, so that you get the best whatever is available for them. And in 1930s, Dury has cautioned us about library cooperation. What we are talking about resource sharing, he says you should take care into view that those which could be shared with other libraries should be shared and not acquired individually in all. And you should take care of the anticipated demands about the requirements of the users, and you should see that you take care of your budget and you are able to allocate that budget properly, keeping in view the needs and number of users. So, best reading for the largest numbers at the least cost, this is what is the DV's principles, and almost what Drury is saying also here, that you have to keep into view the different types of users, the large number of users, where the user in a particular category, if the number of users are large, you have to take care of them at the cost of those who are less in number. But at the same time, you should be able to see that you are able to provide them with the best reading material, best class reading material, best in terms of contents, and at the same time also take care of the cost, because you have to see channels how you can see and provide them at the least cost. So, these are best documents. Best means which serve your users best according to their needs, according to their subject, about which are able to inculcate social and cultural values in your users, and as has been stressed by Drury also, classics and masterpieces should always be acquired for the users. And if we go further into DV's principle, we say that what Drury has said, DV has also tried to express that. Now, let us go to Ranganathan's principles. Ranganathan has given 5 laws, and his 5 laws always guide us in whatever we do. So, even in document selection, his 5 laws are applicable. Like he says, books are for use. That means any book that we acquire, we should keep into consideration the first law, that if it is to be used by the users, then only it should be acquired. You may think it is very good, but if it does not serve your purpose, you should not acquire it. Every book his or her use, every user his or her book. That is another very important thing that guides us, that only those books should be acquired which will serve our users, and no user should be left unsatisfied. Similarly, once a book is acquired, it should be brought to the notice of users. Yes, it is there. That is what is the third law. And fourth law says, save the time of the user, that once you have acquired it, you should make it available for the users. And since fifth law says library is a growing organism, you should not be acquiring every book that is available, because it is going to add to the stock of the library. Now, let us talk of McAlvin's principle, which were given in 1925, and his principles are based on demand and supply theory. He says there should be balance between demand and supply. What is demanded by the user, and that you come to know about their needs, their expressed needs, their unexpressed needs. You may be doing surveys, you may be interacting with your users, you come to know what they require, and then you make it available. So, the supply means the collection should be need based, it should be balanced, and then you should acquire only what serves your users. So, if we conclude, we say that while we select documents for our users, we should keep in view the user, the actual user as well as the potential user. We should keep in view the institution, whether it is a public library, it is a college, it is a university, it is a research institution, it will vary with the institution. Similarly, when we talk of the needs, desires, expressed, unexpressed, wants, requirements, we should maintain a balance with all of them. And not only needs today, we have to keep into view future needs also. We should particularly concentrate on classics and standards to be acquired in the library. Budget is a constraint, therefore, we should properly allocate the budget, and that is really a very important valid point to be considered, because we should not fall short of budget, and at the same time we should not see that some very important requirements of the users are not met with. Infrastructure is also important, whether it is physical infrastructure or human infrastructure, because whatever we acquire has to be made available for our users. We have to process it, we have to make it available in time. So, we have considered today about why document selection is important, and what are the different principles and how they stress on the user, budget, collection and our competencies. Thank you.